No wonder political documentaries are on the rise. The truth is more gripping than fiction. In 2005, screenwriting guru Blake Snyder published what would become his magnum opus. Save the Cat is a screenwriting manual that lays out, plainly and beat by beat, how almost every blockbuster is put together. In 2013, Slate's Peter Suderman blamed Save the Cat for, essentially, ruining Hollywood. Intentionally or not, it's become a formula that threatens the world of original screenwriting as we know it, he wrote, suggesting the book was why almost every blockbuster had started to feel predictable and familiar. It may not be unrelated that Hollywood is suffering its worst summer in 25 years. If audiences are getting tired of the formulaic story arcs of blockbuster movies, then there's a safe haven in political documentaries, which are enjoying a renaissance. 3 of this decade's best documentary feature Oscar winners were films about politics or politicians, including 2016's extraordinary O.J. Made in America, which explained the history of race in the U.S. over the past 60 years as much as it told the story of a fallen sports star. It had the tension, depth and skill of a top-notch thriller, but its twists and turns were so lurching and so vast that it would have been unbelievable as fiction. An inconvenient sequel. Truth to Power trailer. Climate change has new villain. This week sees the British release of an inconvenient sequel, Truth to Power, the follow-up to An Inconvenient Truth, the big daddy of this century's political docs. Al Gore's passionate call for action on climate change felt vital in 2006. Watching It's What Happened Next with a knowledge of the imminence of President Trump is terrifying. Hindsight is as much a character as anyone in the film, if not the star. As Gore spent years building up to the 2015 UN climate change conference in Paris, training foot soldiers to talk people into common-sense action on the environment, the groundswell of optimism begins to feel more like that carefree drive to a remote cabin in the woods that opens a horror movie. Gore begins a joyful 24-hour telethon to insist upon the urgency of action in Paris. It is pulled when 137 people are killed in multiple terror attacks on the city that night. The movie builds towards the Paris Accord, the coming together of almost every nation in the world, its seemingly unresolvable negotiations documented in fascinating if too slight detail behind the scenes. In a caption, we are reminded that, little over a year later, Trump, on the record as a climate change denier, pulls the U.S. out of the agreement. Angela Davis in 13th by Ava DuVernay. Photograph. Netflix app documentaries tend not to do well at the box office, but, nevertheless, An Inconvenient sequel was ushered out with the bombastic assistance of superstar celebrities such as Bono and Pharrell Williams, who promised to be inconvenient in a YouTube video, and it felt as assured as a blockbuster launch. It has underperformed in the US, with some talk of a slow release strategy there sabotaging its chances. Through a combination of big deal docs such as this one, and the investment of streaming services such as BBC iPlayer and Netflix in feature-length political stories, Netflix distributed Ava DuVernay's incredibly powerful and Oscar-nominated 13th, about the mass incarceration of black men in the US. There seems to be a growing appetite for smart, concise documentaries that profile an individual, lay out a case for a cause, or are a hybrid of both. While the US had the astonishing story of the disgraced politician in The Gripping Wiener, the very existence of which defies belief because it means nobody thought to remove the cameras, the UK has Dennis Skinner, Nature of the Beast, a gentle portrait of the Commons curmudgeon, which ends up being a timely reminder that principled politicians are not a myth. More likely to enrage its audience is Dispossession, the great social housing swindle, currently on tour around the UK, which makes a complex subject as simple as it can be by giving it to the families and people whose homes are being taken away. The corporate conspiracies and backhanded dealings implied throughout are the stuff of Scorsese movies. There remains the question of whether these films are able to reach people who do not already agree with their message. Would you pay £10 for a ticket to see An Inconvenient sequel if you believed climate change to be a leftist conspiracy? But even for the converted, these movies can be a call to arms, a reminder of the need to act. And given our current climate of toxic, unpredictable politics, where each day brings a new and increasingly horrifying plot twist and every election result is a shock finale, it is little wonder that the political documentary is finding its form once again.